Hey guys, this is Chaney77, coach of the Brisbane Heat Trans here with the draft analysis for the ECA Auction League. This league is a little bit different to many of the other leagues out there. It actually sort of came to me through playing fantasy basketball. And if for those who haven't played fantasy basketball, what happens is there's a group of us, we sit in a call at the same time, and we just bid on players. And the person with the highest bid gets that player, and everyone has a cap on how much they can spend. So I thought that I could sort of translate that to Pokemon in theory. But in practice, it was pretty hard because people from different time zones and whatever would have to coordinate, and then there's 16 of us, so that's really hard. But someone has actually done it. Troll Test 123, commissioner of this ECA Auction League, managed to get 16 people to commit, and we had the draft, and it was really fun. It took ages. It took just under 5 hours, but everyone who was able to make it had quite a lot of fun, and yeah, just amazed that it was able to actually pull it off. As for the draft itself, the rules, I guess. Before the draft, each of us had to submit a list of 16 Pokemon that we wanted to see in the draft, not including Megas, because all non-Uber Megas were automatically on the list. So also a maximum of 5 OU-mons was allowed. Which means, realistically, you could put 5 OU-mons and 11 UU-mons. And any duplicates and if there were any duplicates, Troll would take them out and then just substitute it with other random Pokemon. So in the end, we ended up with a list of over 200 Pokemon. And everyone was able to see that list and game plan sort of what they wanted when the draft came up. So notable Pokemon that were not on the draft, were not in this draft, include the likes of Manaphy, Tangrowth, Tornadus Therian. Those things were not seen because everyone thought someone else would put it on, but no one did. And I think also included in this draft was Blaziken, Torrent Greninja, and Darkrai without Dark Void. So yeah, in terms of the drafting process itself, each person had to draft between 10 and 14 Pokemons. If you drafted less than 10, there were penalties for that. And you got a total of 120 points to spend on those 10 to 14 Mons. There was no minimum bid except for OU Mons, which had a minimum bid of 5. And yeah, that's pretty much the draft and how that functioned. My sort of approach to this, I didn't really have a draft plan of Pokemons that I wanted to use, except for Zapdos. Yeah, my approach was really, okay, just stick it out to the end, see what's at the end. Hopefully there's some good Pokemon at the end, and maybe we'll pick up something really cheap and valuable, good value for money. So that was my approach, and and because the draft order was randomized, it picked a random Pokemon out of the list of 200, and then it got subtracted, and then that Pokemon got subtracted from the list. So I was banking on the fact that there was going to be good Pokemon at the end that I could pick up for cheap, while I still had a lot of money and nobody else had any. So that was my game plan. And when Zapdos came up, it was actually very early, first 20 or so, I think. And I picked a Zapdos up for 25 points, which was actually the second highest Pokemon after Mega Guard, which went for 27. Yes, it is very expensive, but I really wanted to use this Pokemon again because I've had a lot of fun using it in the MLP. For those who have been following that, I've used a lot of different sets on Zapdos, and I've seen how versatile it can be, and that really attracted me to it again because you can run it Specs, you can run it Scarfed, defensive, physically defensive, especially defensive. It can be your pivot. It can just take hits, but also dish out hits. And looking at its base stats, 125 special attack is not bad, and base speed of 100 is definitely good to speed tie with those other base 100s. But 25, if you compare it with like Crawdont, which was first, went for about 20. I think Rhyperior went second, and that went for like 14, which is ridiculous. Plusle, I think, went for 9. So yes, the likes of Plusle, Minun, Emolga, and Surskit, and Sunflora all made it onto the list, but not Manaphy. Because obviously those Pokemon are better than Manaphy. But yeah, I picked up Zapdos because I'm really comfortable using it, and it can do a lot of things. The next Pokemon I picked up, I regret slightly because I was kind of getting scared that all the good Pokemon were going, and I only had Zapdos. So I picked up Exploud, which is a very good Pokemon in its own right, with Scrappy, Boomburst, what it's best known for. Very high base stats, base HP stat, and sort of a mediocre special attack, but with Scrappy, Boomburst, Stab, it hits really hard. The only downfall really being its low speed. I think I picked this up for around 8. So a cheap pick, one that is probably won't come every week, but it will be useful for when it does come. And nicknames. So with the nicknames, I wanted to sort of stick with the Adventure Time theme, because I've been watching a lot of Adventure Time lately. So Zapdos we're going to call, I was flicking between Lemon Grab because it's yellow, or Jake. Ended up Jake because my brother wanted it to be called Jake. And X-Cloud was one of the most difficult to name. I ended up calling it Ice King because once again my brother wanted it to be called Ice King. But if you guys have any better suggestions, by all means, I'll leave it down in the description. The next Pokemon I was very happy to pick up for 10, just 10, and that is Conkeldurr. A huge wall breaker. Fighting stat is really good in draft league format, and the coverage that it gets is crazy. Huge attack stat, base 140, high base HP, and decent defense. yes, it is slow, but it gets access to Priority Mark Punch, and also it has 3 abilities that are all viable with Guts, Sheer Force, and Iron Fist. It can run on any given week, and the opponents will might have a hard time sort of finding the right calc and figuring out what sort of spread that this Conkeldurr is. Next Pokemon I picked up for around 10 again, and that is Rotom Wash. Doubling up on the electrics, yes, but Zapdos and Rotom Wash don't share any common weaknesses, and getting that pivot with U-turn is really nice. Oh, sorry, Volt Switch. It's really nice. Rotom Wash is another Pokemon that can be predictable. It can be predictable sometimes, with most people seeing it run either defensive or scarfed. But I'm looking to do some things a little bit different with Rotom Wash. Maybe we'll see. And just wanting to show off that it's an offensive threat as well as being a defensive wall. Conkeldurr I was going to name Billy, and Rotom Wash is Beamo. Next is Infernape. So forming that Firewater Grass Core. Infernape I paid 15 for, and this was towards the end of the draft where not many people had much money, but someone pushed me to 15. And Infernape is a great Pokemon in League format. Gets access to Stealth Rocks, U-turn, and can be run physically offensive or specially offensive. It gets Sword Stance and Nasty Plot. No, does he get Sword Stance? I think he gets Sword Stance. Let's double check. Yes, Sword Stance and Nasty Plot. So 2 setups. Also gets Recovery in Slack Off. So if you did want to run it defensive one week, it's possible. But nice speed stat, a nice attack and special attack stats. Infernape is one of those Pokemon that I've been wanting to try in the format, and now finally get the chance. So this will be nicknamed Flame Prince or Flame Princess, depending on whether it's man or woman. And the next Pokemon, where is the next one? The next one is Crocodile. Crocodile, again, can set up rocks and is another Pokemon that I've been wanting to try in the League format. I've seen it being used fairly effectively, both with as a Scarf Moxie user and an Intimidate user. It gets Quake Edge, which is nice coverage, really nice coverage. Hits a lot of the Pokemon that hits a lot of Pokemon for neutral or super effective damage. And yeah, this is another Pokemon that can have sort of dual purpose. It can be either defensive or offensive. More likely than not, you'll see the Scarf Moxie set, but if you want to catch your opponent off guard with the Intimidate to lessen those physical attackers, something that can be done as well, and run with the Stealth Rocks. Also a great Pursuit Trapper, which was something that I needed, and this we're going to call the Lich. I paid, I can't remember, probably less than 10 for this as well, so another bargain pick. But the next Pokemon, Liepard, I picked up for probably $1 because I didn't actually want this Pokemon. I was just trying to bid someone up, make someone go higher, but it fell to me. And I guess its saving grace is that it gets Prankster, because Prankster can be really annoying. I've seen it being used against me in the ECA prankster subtoxic, stalling me out, and yeah, it can definitely be very good. Has utilities with Encore, so I can get a Pokemon in for free setup. Has U-turn, decent speed, and yeah, probably won't use this Pokemon every week, but you know, when it comes, it should put in some work. And this we're going to name Cake. Nickname Cake. Next Pokemon, Azumarill. A Pokemon that I've been wanting to try in the League format. Haven't really seen people use Azumarill, even though it's such a prominent threat in the OU metagame. And that's basically due to its fairly good typing and very good ability. In League format, I guess it doesn't really get used because it's kind of predictable, and it gets just enough coverage to do its job. But I want to see if I can not just run this as a belly drum or a band set. I wanted to try out different things with it, see if I can run it defensive, because it has fairly good base defenses with 180-80, and if you invest it correctly, you can get a lot out of it. So yeah, hopefully I have some fun with Azumarill. I probably will bring the belly drum set at least once, because it's just a real threat. People really have to game plan for it in case it does come. Otherwise, it will sweep through teams. And this we're naming Gunter. Next pick, Skarmory. A cheap pick. I think I got this for like 5 or something, and 5 or 6. And another way to set up hazards, spikes, stealth rocks, and also defog, because right now, although my team isn't weak to hazards, it's nice to have options to get rid of them. Right now, I think the only weakness to rocks is Zapdos, but Zapdos can get rid of hazards, so that's okay. Skarmory is really defensive, and I picked it up because I wanted to make at this point in time, there's kind of one mega that I wanted to try because I haven't tried it yet, and it would form a really nice defensive core with Skarmory, and that's why I picked up Skarmory. And yeah, starting to form this Fairy Steel Dragon core. I didn't really think I could get the dragon to complete this core because I thought they were all gone. But yes, you'll see later that I was wrong. But with my next pick, I actually picked up Hooper, a huge wall breaker, and with the ghost typing, so I can spin block. And yeah, this thing hits really, really hard, and huge 150 base special attack. Its only downside is that it's a little slow, but stab Shadow Ball is really nice, with not many resistances. Well, one resistance and one immunity, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Ghost Stab is just really nice as an offensive type, and it also gets Focus Blast, so those dark types that want to switch in to those Shadow Balls or Pursuit Trap me, I'm able to get off a nice Focus Blast, provided that I hit, of course. Yes, Skarmory's nickname, The Morrow, and Hooper's nickname, Marceline. move to the last 4 picks. Nope, I've already showed them. Boom, these ones. All right, next pick, Reggie Steele. This was definitely a mistake. I paid 1 for it because I thought someone would bid above me. They did not, so I'm stuck with Reggie Steele, but it's not too bad. Reggie Steele, another way to set up hazards. Hazards isn't always a priority of mine to get because it's nice to have, but I don't always prioritize getting hazards. I more prioritize speed tiers, getting the right speed tiers, but this time I didn't really. I kind of just picked up leftover Pokemon. But Reggie Steele's a defensive wall. It's a beast. Base 80, 150, 150s. It's so hard to break, and definitely have to prep for it. Otherwise, it can wall teams just outright. It also has, like I said, access to rocks. So it's my 4th stealth rock user, and the curse set can be really deadly. This we're going to nickname Amo because Amo was evil and Reggie Steele can be evil. And the next Pokemon I picked up was Haxorus, also for 1, for 1 point, which is crazy. Completes my Dragon Fairy Steel Core, which is excellent. And Haxorus, this can be my late game sweeper, but also can be my mid game wall breaker with DD and or Sword Stance and just punching holes through the walls or sweeping up teams. Is definitely very nice. My next Pokemon, again, I picked up for $1, and that is Reuniclus. Now, Reuniclus is another Pokemon I've been wanting to try. In this format, I've seen how effectively it can be used. It has 2 nice abilities with Magic Guard and Regenerator. Nice defenses. 110, 75, 85 is very good. And it can also be that Calm Mind setup sweeper or a Trick Room user, and just another threat on my team. Haxorus's nickname would be Hunson Abadia, and Reuniclus's nickname is, of course, Lumpy Space Princess. And this brings me to my last Pokemon. Up until this point, I had spent 102 points out of my 120. I guess this Pokemon would have cost me 18, but it wouldn't have because literally there was nobody there to outbid me. I had my pick of the mons, and I got Mega Venusaur to complete my Water Fast Grass Core. Now, Mega Venusaur is once again a defensive monster, but it can also be offensive. So another Pokemon that is sort of that bulky offense type mold. I do like to have reliable walls that I can fall back on, but also don't really like to play that stall game. But Mega Venusaur has been proven to be one of the better Megas in Draft League format. Being able to be defensive but also offensive. So the opponent definitely has to have ways to check this thing, and also have ways to kill this thing. Otherwise, it can just sit in front of you, Leaf Seed, Synthesis, Sludge Bomb, and just be annoying. Also has access to Sword Stance, which is something that I will probably run, hopefully, in one of my matches, just to catch my opponent off guard. And this I'm naming Cinnamon Bun because I have no other good nickname to call it. But yes, if you guys have any suggestions as to what would be more appropriate nicknames for my Pokemon, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll take them into consideration. But yes, that is my team for this upcoming season. I hope to have a lot of fun with it. I hope to bring at least one setup a week. And yeah, hopefully able to set up with all of my Pokemon. But we'll see. This is something that I'm not gonna force, but if the opportunity is there, I'll definitely take it. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the team, and I hope to see you guys later.